Thank you all for thank you all for being here for week number 2 of our Finessing Fine Motor series. Our presenter Heidi is back again this week. Hopefully you watched the first video because these build upon each other. So welcome to week 2. Heidi, take it away.
All right, awesome. Thank you all for coming back, and I'm glad to see all of your smiling faces. For you who have your cameras on, thank you. I appreciate it. For you who don't, totally get that too. So we're just going to jump right in and kind of do a quick recap of last week and then move on to some new things. So first of all, by a show of hands, how many of you did your exercises throughout the week? The ones that we did last week, did through the week before this week. Awesome. Cool. Whether it be with the putty or the rings or whatever devices you have at home. Awesome. Did you guys, could you feel it? Were you sore at all? Did it feel good? Kind of give me like it felt great. So, it was awful. Good and bad. If it's like it hurts so good, that's okay. Like oh, it's sore, I can feel it, but that means I was working, but you could still do your things. Then that's great. If it was like, man, my hands hurt so bad I can't do anything, that's not good. So go ahead, and if you have questions, like if you were doing your exercises and it didn't feel good and you want any recommendations to help it be better, you can send me an email or put it in the if you do it in the chat during this, I probably won't get to it. So send me an email if you have any questions, but we'll kind of maybe at the end we can chat about it a little bit too. So last week we talked about strength and focusing on strengthening all the little muscles that we don't always think about, the pinching muscles, the different types of pinch, the grasp, the grip, and really just using these muscles to help increase our strength. Today we're talking about dexterity and we're talking about coordination, and that's just all kind of the fine movements and the finger motor control that we have. And we'll be doing more exercises, but instead of doing it with resistance and working on strengthening those muscles, they're more coordination exercises and things that we're doing to help our brain tell our fingers what to do and kind of work on that um, connection and just work on how they're moving a little bit. So we don't really need supplies for most of the session today. We're going to talk about doing something with a pen or a pencil and some paper. So if you have some nearby and you want to grab it for later, that's awesome. If not, that's okay too. We're just going to kind of go with the flow and see where we get today. So with with everything in life, I know you've heard the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. We talk about how we need to keep doing things so that we can keep doing things, because if we stop, then we'll get weak and we'll stop moving and we won't be able to do it anymore. So we're going to be doing these little fine motor movements, exercises, because if we don't use them, then we won't be able to use them. Um, but if we do, then we hopefully we will. So these are going to be little exercises that are so simple to just incorporate into your day, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. It's just easy to kind of do throughout the day. I like to tell people a lot with other exercises, like if you're waiting for the microwave to beep, to do some, like stand on your tippy toes and go down and work on some leg strengthening, holding onto the counter. These are also things that we can do while we're waiting for the microwave to beep or while there's commercials on the TV show. Just things that only have to take about 30 seconds, and let's just do them to get our fingers moving to get some practice. And then we can continue on with our day. It doesn't have to be like a whole, oh my goodness, I need half an hour to do my exercises. You can, but we don't need it. So we're going to just jump in and get started. We're going to start off by just kind of shaking our hands out. We always want to kind of let them do their thing, relax for a minute, and then we can do some of the stretches we did last time, pulling our fingers back, just to kind of help our hands and our fingers warm up and let them know that we're going to start using them. So we'll pull the other hand, our fingers back, and then we can kind of make the fist. I do it like a light fist and use my other hand to push it down, just so I'm not really using those those muscles right now, but stretching them out. And we can use the, kind of roll your wrist around. Sometimes I'll just kind of put my fingers together and roll them around like this, just to kind of loosen up our hands a little bit. Okay, so that's what we're always going to start with whenever we're doing these exercises. Just kind of warm up your hands a little. So I'm going to turn my screen a little bit and come down here so that you can see what my hand is doing. If you guys can't and you want me to get closer, actually, we'll just do that. You don't need to see my face. I'll kind of get down if we do need to. But the first one we're going to do is just lay your hand flat on a table. If there's not a table in front of you, you can lay it flat on your leg or whatever type of flat surface you have. And we're just going to lift one finger at a time. And then we'll go back to the thumb, pointer finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger. And we're kind of going in order. You can start going a little faster. Now, all of our hands, fingers, all those things in there in our hand are connected. So sometimes it's hard to lift one without another one kind of following along. And that's okay. So if you're raising, your especially this ring finger and the pinky finger wants to come with it, that's okay. We're focusing on trying one finger at a time right now. But sometimes it's hard and that's why we practice, right? So just one hand at a time in order. And then after we start trying to go a little faster, we'll add a little pattern to it. So let's go like, instead of pointer, middle, ring, pinky, we'll go pointer, ring, middle, pinky, pointer, ring, middle, pinky, pointer, ring, middle, pinky, pointer, ring, middle, pinky. I'll let you guys play around with that for a little bit. This is good because it is working both our brain and our fingers, right? Trying to remember a pattern, do something that's not normal or typical. And you can throw the thumb back in there. Thumb, pinky, middle, ring, pointer. Thumb, pinky, middle, ring, pointer. And you just kind of go back and forth in that alternate pattern. See? I mess up too. We can shake it out. Thumb, pinky, middle, ring, pointer. Okay, if you haven't yet, let's switch hands and we're going to do the same thing, okay? So we'll start by just doing one at a time, going in order. And this is something that you could do both your hands at once if you wanted to. Sometimes it's easier to think of one hand at a time. Sometimes it's easier to just kind of do them together. And then you can start trying to go faster. And then we can do that alternate pattern again. So we'll go pointer, ring, middle, pinky. Pointer, ring, middle, pinky. Pointer, ring, middle, pinky. Pointer, ring, middle, pinky. I'm assuming you guys are all doing this with me. I can't see hands, which is okay. But I'm not going to just keep doing exercises in front of you. We're all doing it together. Pointer, ring, middle, pinky. Okay, then we'll do the one with the thumb. So we'll go thumb, pinky, middle, pointer, ring. Thumb, pinky, middle, pointer, ring. Thumb, pinky, middle, pointer, ring. Middle, pointer, ring. And just keep doing that pattern. Thumb, pinky, middle, pointer, ring. I cannot talk and do this at the same time. I'm not saying what we're doing. Okay. So that's that one. That's one thing you can do throughout the day is just to, I mean, it's a little bit of strength, right? Because we're lifting those fingers, but really working on the coordination of isolating our fingers. And when we're talking about dexterity and coordination, we're isolating a lot of these little movements. So that's what we're working on there. All right, now we're going to have our hand flat on the table, still just like before. Instead of lifting our fingers straight up, we're going to kind of curl our fingers up. So you can let it kind of drag on the table up towards your palm, and then we're going to bring it back down. And this is when it gets really hard to do one finger at a time. The other ones want to follow along. And it's okay, but we're just going to try to isolate those fingers one at a time. So we can do the thumb, drag that nail up and then out, drag that middle finger up into your palm and then back out, drag that ring finger and try to at least, I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but my hands you know, the palm of my hand does kind of come up a little bit, the base of my fingers, but we want to try to at least keep our other fingertips on the table as we're coming back with those other hands. And we'll switch hands, do the same thing. We're going to go with our ring finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. It's hard, but we're just isolating, trying to get these fingers to work one at a time. Okay, so now we're going to do essentially the same thing, but instead of dragging that finger, I want you to lift the finger up and bring it back and then tap it down. And then we come up and go back. So lift the finger up, bend it while it's in the air, and tap it down back by the base of the finger, and then go back up. Ring finger, we're going to go up. This one's really hard. Tap it in the base of your finger and bring it back out. Pinky and out. And then we'll start over at the front. So this pointer finger, lift it up, bend it back, tap it down. I'm going to do that one more time just with this different angle. Up, back, down, and forward. Middle finger up, back, touch, and move forward. And again, everybody I'm sure is going to be at different levels with the control and coordination of their fingers. So if this is really easy, go ahead and go faster. If it's difficult, we'll really just focus on working that one finger at a time. If it's still super easy, you can do different patterns with this also. Challenge the brain a little bit. And then I'm going to switch and we're going to do the same thing. We'll lift our finger up, curl it back, tap, and come down, up, back, tap, down, up. This one's so hard. Back, tap, down, pinky, up, back, tap, down. And we're just going to get it back as far as it'll go. Some of them, you know, my pointer finger is going to tap back towards the base of my finger a lot further than my ring finger is. And that's just the way that they are. But we're just focusing on getting them to move a little bit at a time. Okay. Now I'm going to tip this up because we don't need the table for this one. We're going to just touch our fingertips to our thumb. So this one we'll be able to see. So we'll start by our pointer finger, do the kind of A-OK sign. Then we'll do the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky finger. Great. And then I like to go back and forth. You could start at the beginning again, but I just tend to go back and forth. Now I know some of these may not touch. That's okay. We're just going to do the best we can. Some of us will go faster than others. You know, if you want to go this quick, go for it. If you're really struggling to get these farther ones to reach and you need a little bit of help, you can. You know, try to get it as close together as you can. If they don't quite reach, just get them as far as they'll go. But we're just going to go back and forth, left and right. And then here's another one where we can add some patterns. So we're going to go pointer, ring, middle, pinky, pointer, ring, middle, pinky, each touching the tip of your thumb. Pointer, ring, middle, pinky, pointer, ring, middle, pinky, pointer, ring, middle, pinky, ring, middle, pinky. Then let's try the two insides and then the two outsides. So middle, ring, pointer, pinky, middle, ring, pointer, pinky, middle, ring, pointer, pinky. If you want to speed it up, we can speed it up and mess it up. So this is working on coordinating that thumb to go where we need it to go while also curling those other fingers. Perfect. You guys are doing great. You're rock stars. We're going to switch to the other hand here. We're going to start by just going back and forth in order. Some people do the end ones twice to restart the order. Some people just go back and forth. That's up to your preference. We can start to go kind of faster if you want to. If not, that's okay. Now if we are going faster, we want to try to still touch those tips, right? We don't want to just move them around and pretend like we're doing it. Now let's go pointer, middle, no, pointer, ring, middle, pinky. Pointer, ring, middle, pinky. Pointer, ring, middle, pinky. Even these, I can kind of feel it in my hand, you know? I can feel that it's working and doing something that I don't typically do. Again, it's interesting watching the thumb kind of go back and forth. Okay, shake it out for a second. And we're gonna go the outside and then the middle. So pointer, pinky, middle, ring. 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 Good. Pointer, pinky, middle, ring. Pointer, pinky, middle, ring. Pointer, pinky, middle, ring. Good. Okay, time to shake out our hands a little bit. You can bring them together, do the little circles, back and forth. We can do the this one that we did last week, putting our hands together and kind of bringing our elbows out. That just will stretch our wrists out a little bit. Whenever I stretch, it makes me want to yawn. We'll bring our fingers back and then pull them forwards. Stretch our fingers back, pull them forwards. Now, I wrote a list of all these different exercises we wanted to do today because if I didn't write them down, I would forget. And I made sure to write down, shake it out or stretch it out because oftentimes we get doing our things and we don't think about, you know, relaxing and taking a break for a minute and it is important to kind of stretch and relax those hands especially when we're focusing, you know, an hour of our time on working on them because we don't want to overdo it. So just when you're doing it by yourself, remember that. Okay. Who knows the itsy bitsy spider? Went up the water spout, down came there. Okay, we're gonna do some itsy bitsy spider. This is one of my favorite coordination activities. We're gonna start with an L with both hands. I'm gonna turn this a little bit so we can be more straight on here. Okay, we have two L's, right? I mean a backwards one and a forwards one, but our finger and thumb. The other ones, these other fingers, I want you to curl them in, okay? If we leave them out like this, they might get tangled up. So we're going to curl our fingers in. We have the L's. I want you to touch your finger to your thumb, your opposite thumb, and then your other finger to your other thumb. So you kind of make a box. So we don't want to have finger to finger and thumb to thumb. We want to have finger to thumb and finger to thumb, opposite hands. Okay, good. These look great. Then we're going to take one of the corners, the bottom one probably, our finger and our thumb. We're going to break free. Keep the other ones connected, but twist and pivot. And then bring that finger and thumb back together on top. And then we're going to do it again. The bottom one is going to break free. Keep the top ones together. Don't let them separate. They're glued together, but they can pivot, and we're going to come around. Perfect. And then we're going to keep going. You guys are doing great. Back and forth. This way. And then this way. And the itsy bitsy spider. I won't sing the whole song. It just always makes me think of that when we do it. But I mean, itsy bitsy spider, we usually do, you know, little ones. I like to just keep the square, and we're gonna break free, come up and around, and touch them back together. Break free, up and around, come back together. You guys are doing pretty good. Excellent. We can go faster. And then if you want to, I don't know, I always go the same way. Let's go the opposite way. So let's pivot back down. Shoot, this is kind of hard. It just makes you think opposite, right? Let go, spin around, connect together. Let go, spin together. Back and forth, back and forth. See, and this is a good exercise all around because as we're working on our coordination of our fingers, I mean, I could do it here with my elbows. Yeah, remember to breathe. Good point. Um, with all exercises, it's easy to get focused on what we're doing and not take those breaths. And we do want to keep breathing. So keep breathing. Let's all just breathe together right now. Deep breath in through the nose and then out through the mouth. Okay. Anyway, you can keep your elbows down and do it, but if our arms are kind of up, it's kind of an arm strengthening exercise while we're working on our finger coordination, right? Cool. Okay, so like I said, these are all super easy to implement. We just did like 5 different exercises in 15 or 20 minutes. So there are things that you can do throughout the day. If you are sitting in the car and either you're driving or you are have the dashboard in front of you or your legs in front of you, you can kind of put your finger. I mean, don't if you're driving, don't be like trying to do exercises while driving, right? I just mean if you're sitting at a red light or something, might as well touch your fingers to your thumb. Um, but if you're not and you're just sitting and you're a passenger, let's just do some of these exercises. Let's do some itsy bitsy spider. We can have our hand flat and lift our fingers up one at a time. Like we said, if we're waiting for the microwave, while we're laying in bed in the morning and we're not quite ready to get up. I don't know how many of you do that. I've been having a big problem with actually getting out of bed once my alarm goes off, but I need to like be thinking about something to start waking myself up. Let's wake ourselves up by moving our fingers around a little bit. So just some examples of how to fit those in throughout your day. We'll keep doing a couple more. So I'm going to bring my camera back down because we're going back to the table. So I'm going to have this flat right here. And we're going to do kind of like windshield wipers. So I want you to start with your hands, not like super far apart, but but not together. Have your fingers kind of apart and resting on the table. Again, we're going to isolate one finger at a time. And we're going to do some windshield wiper movements. So when we move a part of our body in and out, like, okay, so if our arm is like this and we're raising our arm up, we're flexing our shoulder, right? If we're going out away from our side, that's called abduction. It's just that motion. So this motion with our fingers, we're extending, we're flexing when as we go side to side. That's abduction or adduction, depending on which way you're going. So we're going to do some of that because we do use some of these movements. So we're going to start with our pointer finger, and we're just going to slide back and forth, just like a little mini windshield wiper, back and forth for maybe 10 to 15 seconds. And then we'll go the next finger, and then we'll go back and forth, side to side. Again, these are just movements and motions that we don't always think about. But by practicing them, we'll keep our fingers smart in the sense of being able to do different things. So then we'll jump to the ring finger. And just keep your finger on the table and act like you are cleaning that piece of it off with the pads of your fingertip. And again, we're trying to, you can kind of see my pinky is moving a little bit. We're trying to isolate one finger at a time the best we can. And then we'll go for the pinky. Let that one slide in and out, back and forth. Abduction, adduction, out, in. And we can go slow. We can go fast. We don't want to go so fast that we're kind of just shaking it, We want to be concentrated. So in and out. And we can do the same thing with our thumb. I tend to do the thumb last just because I start with my pointer finger, but We could do it either way. So then we'll switch hands. Same thing. I'm going to start with the thumb this time. In and out, in and out, back and forth. Wash that table. Then we'll go to the next finger. Out and in, back and forth. And we'll go to the middle finger. Back and forth, out and in. Okay, then we're moving on to that ring finger. If you want to kind of hold the pinky down so it doesn't move along with it, you can. Or you can just let it do its thing, but we're just really focusing on this ring finger. And then we'll go to the pinky, out and in. Out and in, out and in. Good. Okay, now we're going to switch back to the other hand. Give this one a break. We're going to do like we did before, where it's the same thing. We're going to go out and in, back and forth, but instead of wiping it like a windshield, we're going to pick it up, move it over, and set it down. Pick it up, move it over, set it down. And we'll do maybe 10 repetitions of each one. So we're picking the finger up, over, down, up, over, down. And then we'll go the next one, start it, kind of pick, it starts in the middle, pick a side, up, over, down, and up, over, down. There we go. And then we'll switch to the other side. So again, remember to breathe and remember to keep your arm and your shoulders relaxed. I was, sitting up so I can be at this angle and just realize that my shoulders were really tense because I'm focusing on my finger. I wasn't paying attention to what they're doing. So we just want our arms to stay relaxed. And then move these fingers. When I talk about relax, so then I start yawning again. In and out. Out and in. So we're picking it up, moving it to the side, and bringing it back in. And then same thing with the thumb. Out and pick it up, move it over. We'll do that about 10-ish times. Good. Okay, we can shake it out. Next hand, same thing. Up, over, down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. When I do these exercises, we're moving on to our middle finger, and I do them 10 times. I tend to count in different languages just to make it more exciting. I can count to 10 in English, Spanish, German, and Vietnamese. I think that's it. When I'm doing exercises with people, I like to count and then they guess which one it is. So to keep it fun for yourself, if you want, you can count in whatever way you want to. Just a thought. We're just going in and out, up and down. Let me know if you guys can count to 10 in a different language. Put it in the chat. What language can you count to 10 to other than English? Because if it's different, maybe I can up my repertoire. You guys can teach me. Italian, that would be a good one to learn. German. See, this is why I didn't do it, Jen, because you know German and I know my accent's probably really bad. Otherwise, I'd be counting for you guys. Too self-conscious about my other language speaking. Okay, so shake them out again. flop them around a little bit, let them kind of relax, do their thing. I know this seems like a really, I love doing this part because I have you guys on gallery view so I can see as many of you as possible. And I just see all these hands flapping around and it looks really funny. But it's good. Okay. Um, we're going to put our hands together. So you can either kind of just hold them in front of you. If you have a table and you want to rest them, you can. If you want to rest them on your knees. But if you just kind of let your arms relax a little bit. Again, we don't want to be super tense anywhere. We're not pushing our hands together. We're just going to hold them together. And then same thing as we've been doing, we're going to take one finger at a time. So this time we're just going to separate. So we have the pinkies. We're going to keep our other fingers together, separate our pinkies, and then bring them back together. Then we're going to separate our ring fingers, bring them back together. Separate our middle fingers, bring them back together. Separate our pointer fingers, bring them back together, and then our thumbs. And then we're going to go back and forth, keeping the pattern going. Again, you can go as slow or as fast as you want, as long as we're keeping the pattern. We don't want to go so fast that we don't control it, right? We want one set of fingers to separate at a time. And then we can start our patterns again. So we're going to start with thumb, middle, pinky, pointer, ring. 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 Now we'll just do one more. Are you guys feeling this in your hands at all? Show of hands if they're like getting a little sore. Okay, yeah. Let's take a second to also, so rather than just shaking, we can kind of rub our fingers out, right? So I'll hold one hand here, and then I'm just gonna like grab my finger with my other finger and thumb and just kind of rub it out, right? Give yourself a little massage here. Kind of go between each finger, just support your hand with your other fingers and then use that thumb to rub your fingers out a little bit. And I don't know, it's just crazy to me it how we can feel it so quickly, but these are, muscles that we usually don't work this hard and this precisely. So again, because we have an hour once a week, we're throwing them all in here. I would generally separate these exercises out. We don't have to do quite so many all in a row, but go ahead and just rub your fingers here. Okay, there's just a couple more that we're going to do, and then we're going to chat about some things to finish it off today. So, while we have our fingers together here, kind of like the one we did on the table where we we lifted them and then curled them. We're going to curl them together. So I'll start with my pinky just so you can see it because it's closest to the camera. We start together. We're going to keep our pinky tips together and then our other fingertips together, but we're going to try to curl it in and come down. And then we'll go back up. Out and down. And you can see like my next finger, the whole hand isn't staying flat, right? They're kind of separating, but the fingertips are staying together. And on the other side, so I'm still doing my pinky, but you can see how on this side, the hand does stay together the whole time. So I'm not separating the whole thing. We're keeping it together as much as possible while we bring these in and out. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing now to fit, right? Our hands are going to kind of separate a little bit, but keep your fingertips together as much as possible. Bring it down. All the other fingers stay straight. Just the ring finger is curling in and then back up. Now we're going to get these middle fingers in and up. In and up. And I will say, when we are talking about fine motor and fine motor strengthening and fine motor coordination and working on our hands and our fingers. And I probably should have said this last week. But these are things that we do to help strengthen and to help coordinate with when those things are getting hard, if there's weakness or if there's coordination issues. If there's arthritis or other things going on, it's not to say that you can't be doing these exercises. You definitely can, but they might be a little bit different. I don't want to be, doing a ton of exercises that's going to make your hands really sore. So just pay attention to that. And as we do these exercises, pay attention to how they're feeling after, during, after, and then, tomorrow, and just kind of adapt how we do some of these exercises as we go along. And if you have any specific questions about how it feels, like I said, let me know. Okay, so again, we're going to kind of just stretch our fingers out a little bit here. Flop them around. Do the little shaky shakes. Okay. I'm going to give your hands a rest for a second while I just talk a little bit about some other things that we can do to help with this coordination and to help with the really fine motor strength. So last time we did strengthening, through the exercises, the squeezing, the pinching. If you have a pencil or a pen, one thing that I used to do with people is, there's all sorts of things that I do with people. One thing that I'm going to send to Jen this week to go out in the post-event email, and she said it'll either be later this week or early next week. I want to send out a handout that I haven't made yet, and I'm going out of town today, so it'll be early next week, but I'll get it to you soon. A handout with just like, do any of you have difficulty with like handwriting at this point in time? Yeah, okay, I see a lot of hands. So this is something, all these exercises we're doing are hopefully going to help with this. The strengthening helps, the coordination helps. And now we'll work more specifically on that in another session. But one thing that I like to do is just practice writing. So I'm going to make some worksheets, and sometimes it seems kind of silly because we're just tracing a line or tracing a circle or, making a star, but it's focusing on precise movements and having our fingers and our hands do what we're telling it to do. So if it's just practicing printing, it could be our names. You can get out a piece of paper and practice whatever sentence you want. Heidi is really awesome, or I love fine motor, or, whatever you want to do. So repetition with all of these things is good, but with a balance like everything else. Again, we don't want to be writing all day and then our hand gets super fatigued and tired. But we want to do some precise movement. So before we do, the whole sentences, on the handouts, there'll be some just little lines, or there'll be some circles, or there'll be some shapes to kind of, make our fingers do what we want it to do, as I said. So another thing that's helpful is big movements. So we'll work on that too when we kind of get into the handouts, but we're working on fine motor and preciseness. But sometimes when we start to focus on something, it gets really small and we want it. Okay, so if we want it to be this big, but lots of times we end up making it this big, we want to practice it this big, if that makes sense, because if we want it to be here and we're getting it here, then if we're trying to practice here, maybe we'll get it to where we actually want it to be. So we practice big and then work our way small, because small is going to be a tendency to be easier for many people. So when I give you the worksheets, if you see some things that are really big, that's why we want to practice those big movements, even though we're doing fine, precise motor, bigger movements with that. So even just practicing or holding your pencil or your pen and kind of writing in the air, like that's working on these muscles and coordinating that also. So you can kind of start with that, practice with that. Yeah, write big things. And so one thing that we want to work on though is we want it to be big, but when we're writing, we're probably not going to write with our whole arm. So in that big movement, let's focus on big wrist movements, kind of keeping our arms still, but working on, so like let me put it here. You can kind of see my forearms moving a little bit, but like my elbow staying still, because as we're writing, our elbow will probably stay still. That's the goal, at least, rather than writing with our arm, is to write with our hand and our wrist. So we'll practice writing that way. We can do things in the air, squiggly motions, and this is just working on grasping the pen, right? Then we'll get it to the worksheet where we work on having it actually show that it's doing what we want it to by making the marks on the paper. Another thing we can do to work on this fine motor strength is if we have a pencil and say maybe like a thin piece of cardboard, like a box, if you got a package that came in a box instead of a bag. I, of course, don't have any with me here. I was thinking about it, but didn't have any. But you take that pencil and you just poke it, because since it's cardboard, it'll have a little give to it, but it's a little thicker. So that won't work. Anyway, just poke it. So that's one thing to try. If you have a piece of cardboard, it doesn't have to be like up in a box. You can cut it so it's just like flat and sitting on the table, right? And take your pencil. A pencil would be better than a pen, but a pen would work too, but you would want to make sure that the pen is open. And just kind of have it resting. So say this is the box right here, right? And it's resting on here. And then you just want to push it through. And then you can make kind of like a dot to dot. You can make a picture. So what I would do with, if I'm working with someone, I would have like the piece of cardboard and I would draw maybe a picture out of dots, right? But just draw it, and then have someone grab their pencil and poke each of those dots to make little holes, because it's working on the precise movement. So we get the pen where the dot is, but then it's also working on strength by poking through that cardboard. So I'm gonna say this, and we'll put this in the email next week. Let's see if we can. If we don't, no big deal. But if you have one, let's bring a little piece of cardboard and we'll try some of this together. And if you think of it and draw yourself a little picture beforehand, go for it. If not, that's fine. We'll kind of do something together. But again, we'll put this in there. But if you can get like a little piece of cardboard, or styrofoam would work. Cardboard's probably better. But something that we can kind of push through a little bit. We'll kind of work on that next week. But I just wanted to kind of practice that. Handwriting, I'm sorry, I'm going to catch up on the chat real quick. So handwriting gets smaller and smaller really fast. It does. That's very, very true. And that's why we want to practice the big movements, because we start big and then we kind of get going and get into the rhythm, and our hands just kind of gravitate that way. So that's why it's like when I do walking with people and they're taking really small steps, I want them to take big steps, and they think it's really silly as I walk down the hall like this, but then it kind of gets to more of a normal pattern and it doesn't look as silly as it seems. So same thing with writing. We want to really practice trying to make big motions, because it does tend to get smaller and smaller because we're not controlling that coordination. It's just kind of shrinking as we go. Someone else said that they've used elementary school erasable books to trace and practice handwriting. That's a great idea too. Yeah, if you want to, they have like the dry erase things to practice writing, then you can just wipe it down and do it again. So I'll give Jen these worksheets. Sometimes I have taken a worksheet and like laminated it, and then you can do the same thing, just kind of practice over and over again. It's a little bit of a different feel than like writing on paper, but it's not, I mean, we're still working on the coordination and practicing those things, right? So it's still good. Yeah, so writing, tracing, doing or just doing dot to dots. I don't know if you guys have done them or remember doing them. You like get a paper and there's just all these dots with numbers, right? And then you trace and to connect the dots between the numbers. They have some really cool and really intense adult dot to dots, and you can just like Google them and print them out and go through those and practice tracing. And that's a good way to work on our vision and coordination, our eye-hand coordination, our sequencing, going through all the numbers, but also those precise movements and motions of our hand following those numbers to create these cool pictures, and then you see what they are. So all these things that we do as kids aren't just for kids anymore, right? They make some neat ones. So that's another thing that I would encourage you to practice do if you want to work on your writing. And then the cardboard push through. Okay, we have a few more minutes. So before if we had time, I was going to go over some different exercises from last week, but I think we'll skip those because we did a lot with our hands today. I don't want to tire them out more. Next week, I'm going to talk about, next week, I'm going to talk about different activities and hobbies or tasks that use our fine motor. Sorry, the phone's ringing and I don't know how to make it stop. So if you can hear it, just ignore it. So I know we talked about knitting, and is there a way to kind of help adapt with that? And we're going to talk about adaptations and such the last week, but just in terms of activities, I want you to put in the chat if you think of it now, or you can respond to Jen's email, or we'll talk about it at the beginning of next week, but just start thinking about activities that you use your hands for: gardening, sewing, painting, drawing, writing, baking. Oh, I can mute it. Maybe. That you use your hands for that we can maybe talk about. So go ahead if you can think of any now. So I want to know things that you like doing, that you enjoy doing. Some of your favorite hobbies that use your hands. Let me know those. Or if there's any other tasks that are difficult, put those in there too. And then I'll know to kind of think about each of these things. Yeah, great, awesome. Eating, that's a big one. I like to eat too, and we do use our hands for that. Typing, playing the piano, shoestrings, cutting food. Is there a source of adaptive tools like silverware that have large grip? There is, and we're going to talk about that the last week. But I have a resource for some of those things too. So keep letting me know what's difficult and then what you like to do. Beading. Yeah, hard to cut foods for cooking, playing the mandolin, eating soups and salad, Ukrainian eggs, and signing things. I want to know more about these Ukrainian eggs and how you use hands for that. Who said that? Bunny said that. I didn't know more about that. Using a cell phone, yeah. Having the coordination and all of that to do that. Perfect. Buttoning your shirt, that's a big one too. Drawing. Do you know, Jen, is there a way to I'll just copy and paste it. I was gonna say, is there a way to like save the chat so we can get all these things?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Okay,
Yeah. I'm
that would be
almost
awesome.
positive I can do that in Zoom.
Cool.
See, at the top of the chat, there's 3 dots.
Oh,
Well, look at that. John knows his stuff.
perfect.
Oh, look at that. Save chat. Doing
Okay,
it.
cool. Brushing our teeth, sewing, especially handling slippery fabrics, pinning. Okay, cool. Yeah, keep bringing them to me. Let me know what's difficult and what do you like doing. Even if it's not difficult, but you love doing it and you use your hands, let me know. And I can't find the 3 dots either. But maybe it's because my screen was small. Oh, it's on the bottom of mine where it says more, save chat. Yep, got it. That's where it is. So on mine, it was on the bottom. There's like a smiley face and a square thing and a little V thing, and then there's some dots. So if you want to save that. I just want the list so that I can kind of plan for what we're going to talk about next week. So that's why I want to save it. But anything else that we like doing? Okay, do any of you have any questions I wanted to go over from our exercises from last week first? About doing any of those with the putty or with anything else. Anybody have any questions about exercises? Picking one sheet of paper from a few, that's a good one too. Okay, cool. Any questions about the exercises today that we did? Showering is a good one too. Okay, cool. So, we're gonna do one more thing real quick then, since we have a couple of minutes. So we're going to let's put our hands on the table. And we're going to do I should do it where you can hold it up so that I can see it. Nah, I won't. We'll do the table. I won't see it. Okay, so how we did like the pointer, middle, ring, pinky. We're going to put these to numbers. So the pointer finger is number 1. The middle finger is number 2. No, the thumb's going to be number 1. The thumb is 1, pointer is 2, middle is 3, ring is 4, and pinky is 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll be easier to remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to say a number, and I want you to lift up that finger. So if I say 3, let's lift up the middle fingers. 2, pointer fingers. 4, ring fingers. 1, thumb. 5, pinky. Got it? Does that make sense? We know what we're doing? Okay, I'm just going to say a number. You pick up your fingers. Let's do 1, 4, 3, 5. 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. 1, 3, 2, 4. So far, just nods. Are we getting it? Yes or no? Are we keeping up? Am I going too fast? Too slow? Okay, we're going to speed it up then. Yeah, trigger fingers and getting stuck, that's another thing that we work on, but that might make this difficult. Sorry, just checking it on the chat again. Stirring things like cake mixes, flipping things like pancakes, and frying eggs. Okay, cool. We'll talk about all these things. We're going to get back to this. So 1, 4, 3, 2, 5, 2, 4, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 4, 2, 4, 2, 3, 2, 5, 3. I was gonna try to do my phone number, but it goes too high of numbers. 2, 5, 3, 4, 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 1, 3, 5, 5, 3, 1, 4, 2. I hope you guys are doing this along with me, so I'm not just sitting here like a crazy person moving my fingers. Okay, one more and then we'll wrap up. 2, 4, 3, 5, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 1, 4, 2. This is a good exercise for my brain along with your guys's. 2, 4, 3, 5, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 1, 3, 1, 5, 5, 4. Oh shoot. 5, 4, 3. Can't even do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Should have been the easiest one. All right. I think it's fun sometimes to, I played a game once kind of like that where we were like standing in a spot and we had to either step forward, backwards, left, or right, and then do a motion and then make a sound based on like 3 different words that was said. And so that's like, it's working our fine motor, right? But also our brain with connecting with like what number. So it would have been harder if I gave each finger like a color, right? At least with the numbers, we can kind of count easier. Maybe next week we'll throw that in there. We'll see. So next week we're going to talk about just some daily activities, some hobby activities that use our hands, how by doing those helps strengthen our hands, but also kind of problem solve what's difficult about some of those tasks and what we can do to help with those. And then if you do have a little piece of cardboard and a pencil, we'll do some poking next week also, poking the cardboard, not each other or ourselves. Any questions for me? I'm going to save this chat before I forget again. Cool. So I will send Jen. I'm not going to do a handout with the exercises we did just because they're hard to show by picture, you know, because it's one thing, but I think I will make a couple of like short videos, or I probably have some that I'll attach all on a handout. So if you wanted to remember some of the videos without watching this whole thing, I'll do that and we'll attach that, and then we'll attach a handout to practice some writing, and then just come next week with some more ideas of what you like to do, and we'll just kind of have a conversation about some of those things. Sound
Great.
good? All right.
Thank you, Heidi. And thank you all for joining us. I hope your hands feel okay today. You've certainly built some neuroplasticity in my brain today, challenging that. So that was really awesome. So do expect an email from me. If you have anything that you want to share with Heidi or any questions, you can feel free to email me. You all have that. For those of you that did not get week 1's email, I will find that. I'm having difficulties finding what I sent you, but I will send you all the resources that I sent to everybody. And we will see you at 10:30 next Thursday for another edition. And Heidi, I know you're going off on a very lovely weekend at the lake. I hope you catch some great fish and get
Thank you.
some wonderful sleep and relaxation out in nature. So enjoy
Perfect.
yourself.
Thank you.
Yep.
And with the questions that just came in with the putty, we can go over that at the end of next time, talking about the oomph of the putty and how to do some of those exercises again. So we'll get to it when we have more question time. Next week will be more conversation. So awesome. Thank you.
Jen,
All right.
that's
Take care,
10:30
everyone.
Jen, it's
Have a
at
nice long
10:30
weekend,
Pacific time?
and we'll see you next week.
Jen, is that 10:30 Pacific time?
10:30 Pacific
Pacific
time.
time.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye.